February 16th, 2022 edition of the Urban League Jobs Network Digital Career Success Series, brought to you by the National Urban League. I'm your host, Kenneth L. Johnson, president of the Harlem, New York-based diversity recruitment firm, East Coast Executives. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. The Digital Career Success Series, DCSS, is a professional development series that helps members of the Urban League Young Professional chapters and other diverse job seekers develop new skill sets that will enhance their careers. And we do this through digital platforms such as webinars and Facebook Live and Instagram Live. The goal is to provide an opportunity for professional development right from one's computer. Today's Digital Career Success Series, Secure the Bag, featuring Paul Newman, is sponsored by Benjamin Moore. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't know Paul that well, but I had the opportunity to converse with him, and really interesting guy. And also spent some time in Pittsburgh and attending the University of Pittsburgh, and that's my alma mater. So I'm excited to sit in on this Secure the Bag workshop. So Paul, welcome to the Digital Career Success Series, my friend.
Thank you, Kenneth. Thanks for the invite. Thanks for the nice welcome.
Man, we are so excited to have you and Benjamin Moore represented today for Secure the Bag, learn how to get a paid summer internship. Typically how we start out here at the Digital Career Success Series is we just have you tell a little bit about yourself and then jump into the programming.
Sure. So Paul Newman, I'm the manager of talent acquisition at Benjamin Moore. I've been at Benjamin Moore for about 7 years. I spent over 20 years in human resources. About 15 of those years, I really found and grounded my teeth in financial services. And I've worked in many different sort of sectors of human resources, from talent acquisition, college relations, employee relations, and talent management.
Man, it's so amazing that you have that background. I can't think of anyone better to speak about this particular piece today, because I think a big part for talent acquisition leaders, they're seeking out individuals that possess the soft skills. And a lot of times we get those soft skills, or should I say even transferable skills, through internships.
100% correct. You know, young individuals that are in college pursuing a degree, they seem to focus a lot of their time and attention on getting good grades and acquiring knowledge. But there's a gap there that they need to fill, and that is, how do they gain experience? And so the college internship is a perfect way for a college student to be able to acquire those knowledge, skills, and abilities that they're going to need when they're actually graduating and they're competing for jobs in the job market.
Indeed. I will tell you that we have a great audience here at the Digital Career Success Series. We always get questions. So to everybody that's out there, let us know where you're from. Drop that in the chat. And also, we have the Q&A open. So if you have some questions for Paul or myself, please do not hesitate to drop them in the Q&A and I'll get to them. But in the meantime, Paul, I'm going to let you do your thing, my friend, and I want to sit back and listen and learn.
Thank you very much, Kenneth. So today we're going to be covering a number of topics. The first one will be, why a paid summer internship is so important to a person's college journey and professional career. We'll also be talking about what is the process for searching for an internship, online and personal resources to securing an internship, college career services, what's their role, review the type of work and duties an intern should expect, what are the requirements for an internship, how will your resume be assessed and evaluated, paid versus an internship for college credit. That's a very interesting topic. And what steps should you take to be prepared for an interview? And then we'll close with researching companies and dressing professionally. Okay.
Looks like you got it all covered.
I'm trying to. I'm sure there'll be some questions. So interesting enough, why a paid summer internship is so important to a person's college. Well, it's interesting. Internships are a great way for students to gain real world work experience in a particular career, and for employers to scope out potential new hires upon graduation. Now, according to NACE, and for you folks that don't know who NACE is, that's the National Association of College and Employers. They say that 72% of interns are offered a job, and the retention rates of hired interns is higher than any other entry-level new hire. So what does that tell you? That tells you that there is a return on investment to employers when they bring on qualified interns. Think about it, 72% of interns receive a job offer. It's amazing. And it's difficult to find a really good career, but if you get a good internship and you perform well, there's a pretty high probability that you may be offered a job upon graduation. And more importantly, from a human resource perspective, interns perform better than other entry-level new hires. Good. Next slide. So it's interesting that what is the process for searching for an internship? So the most important thing you want to do when searching for an internship is to search for those internship opportunities by going online. That's where you're going to find the majority of your opportunities for an internship. You want to go online, Indeed.com. Indeed.com is a great place to go. It's the #1 job board in the country, actually in the world. And you can also do a targeted job search by visiting certain companies and organizations that you feel are a good fit for your career aspirations, and offer a career that's going to be congruent for what you're looking for. So you can go to companies like Google, you can go to benjaminmoore.com, and then you can type in internship into the Who section on their career center and find those career opportunities. Online and personal resources to secure an internship. So the interesting thing there is you'll find most of your opportunities for an internship by going online. Today, especially specifically in human resources, we will post all of our job opportunities on our career center or on our job board. However, you also want to be able to network with your community members, your family members, and your mentors, and let them know that you're interested in a internship. So therefore, they can potentially network you with other companies and individuals that may have those opportunities that are open to you. The most important thing, though, is once you have secured that information, is to make sure you follow up on that information. So take action on that information. And then if you have questions, follow up with that person that you've actually had their inquiry with. If you're online and you have submitted your information for an actual internship, however, you haven't received a response, but you feel that the internship is a really good fit based upon your career aspirations, based upon your college career major, then you can always reach out to the human resource department. On every single website, there will either be an 800 number or a way for you to email a human resource inbox. Human resources will respond back to you and they will let you know that, yes, we received your application. Yes, your application is being reviewed. Or if they've made a decision, they may even tell you that, hey, we've made a decision and you'll be receiving a notice in the next couple of days, et cetera, as into the reasons potentially why you didn't receive an interview or an offer for that position.
You know, Paul, I think that's a really important important strategy because I've ran an internship program for a major company. At least I was part of the team. And everyone that called us to inquire about their candidacy, we usually took another look at that particular person to see if we had something, because it didn't happen often. Like people would submit it and just assume we were going to get back with them. But the people that called and reached out, we were able to take a deeper look into their background. And usually it resulted in us offering them an internship opportunity.
100% correct, Kenneth. Follow-up is one of the key management skills that young people will need to acquire and need to learn. And you can actually learn those skills as you're doing your internship search. The follow-up, the communication. You know, when somebody tells you no and you really want something, what do? We don't stop, right? That barrier is not going to stop us from being successful. We just find another way to get the yes. And so that's important. Another thing around sort of the internship searching is most internships, especially summer internships, will be what I call socialized and posted on employers' career centers, typically between the months of November and February. And then in some instances, especially some of the larger organizations like an AIG or a Facebook, they'll have deadlines as into when you need to submit your application for those internships. So pay attention to the deadlines, make sure that you've submitted your resume, you filled out the application if that's required, and then also make sure you keep track of those internships that you apply to. So whether you keep it in OneNote or you do it the old-fashioned way, you put it in a notebook, that's up to you, but keep note of that. And then if you haven't received a response in so what you consider to be a timely manner, then you can do that follow-up with the employer. Good. College career services. Let me see here. I need to pull my notes here because this is very interesting. College career service centers are always on a college campus. And so the key here is that you want to make sure that you visit or contact your college career services and speak to the career counselor, because the college career service center, they have a database of employers that have open job opportunities, but also internships. So organizations like Benjamin Moore, organizations like Facebook, Google, Microsoft, etc., if they have a relationship with your college, they will post their career and their internships with the Career College Service Center. And that information is going to be stored in their database. Also, the Career Services Counselor can also offer you assistance on resume writing. So if you're not sure whether or not your resume is up to snuff, go to the College Career Counselor and he or she can help you. They also can help you with interviewing. Hopefully they'll cover behavioral-based interviewing. I'm sure Kenneth and we both know what that is and how important that is to be able to master that particular skill. They also will talk to you about professional dress and also talk to you about interview questions. So if you haven't visited your College Career Service Center, please do so as soon as possible. And you can do that either in person or you can do that virtually.
Man, I love what you just mentioned there. You know, it all ties in, right? So the National Urban League, a couple of years ago, I actually was going out to colleges and universities, typically on the Eastern Seaboard, and doing workshops. And we did a workshop at the University of Maryland where I had attended school, and it was on behavioral-based interviewing, to which you're speaking of. We were talking about the STAR technique.
Yes.
What I find more interesting is that although I attended school there, that was the first time I was ever in the career center. The first time, but it was behavioral-based interviewing workshop that I conducted.
Yeah, yeah. So that, you know, I've probably have visited over 200 college career service centers in my career. So when I ran college relations at Oppenheimer Funds, what I always found to be interesting was that I always felt that they didn't do a really good job of marketing their services to the student body. Individuals that knew about the college career service centers, they were there, right? Some of them got work study in that department, which gave them a leg up, and they leveraged it, right? But individuals that maybe, you know, first generation going to college or were just not aware that that actual service was on their college campus, then that's a huge miss. They're there to do one thing for that university, and that is to engage employers to ensure that they know that they have the requisite skills and knowledge in their students, and then to be able to match those students' skills and knowledges with employers that have open career opportunities. And that's whether you're an undergraduate student, a graduate student, or a PhD student. That's their role. And most of those individuals in there, they have master's degree in counseling, et cetera, et cetera. So they're knowledgeable. I just don't think that they do a really good job of marketing their services broadly to the college community and specifically maybe to, you know, the community of color. Good. Next slide. Sure. So interesting. I think the interesting thing here is what we need to understand is that from work duties for an intern, what you should expect is most internships will include key responsibilities or key duties, right? So those responsibilities and duties will include verbs like assisting developing, perform analysis, develop models, facilitate and plan, work or partner with. Plus, they will also include maybe specific requirements such as required skills and qualifications, a GPA 3.5 or greater, or accounting. What is your major? Accounting or finance majors only. Also, when you actually read the job description, right, what you'll see in there is exactly what the actual employer is looking for. So there will be under the responsibilities. So it will say, hey, I need a student who's from an accredited institution and is going for a degree in accounting. And we're looking for individuals that have a 3.0 or greater. It also will point to use what I call soft and hard skills. It may talk to about the need to be able to communicate and the ability to have sort of leadership skills and qualities, things of that nature. So I think, those things are important for individuals to understand, and then make sure when you read the job description, right, that if there's something in the job description that's not in your resume, then to modify your resume to match the job, right? So I call that a targeted job search. So what you've done is you said, okay, I'm looking for an internship. Excellent. I think Facebook will be a great place for me to find a great internship. You go onto Facebook, you type in internship on their career page, and you see all these internships. You go, you know what? I'm really interested in a marketing internship at Facebook. You find a marketing internship at Facebook. You actually read the job description. And then in there, it says things around, have you done things around social media? It may say things in there around, what have you done from a volunteer perspective? Things of that nature. If that information isn't on your resume, but you have it, you've done that, please add it to your resume. Therefore, your resume will be reviewed by a person in human resources and will be evaluated higher than an individual that doesn't have that information. So that's a key component.
Yeah, I think a very key component. And so you'll be able to answer this question for me. So even with an internship, those candidates are actually going through the ATS, the applicant tracking systems as well?
100% correct.
So yeah, definitely important to customize your resume, because it will indeed allow you to rate higher in that system and be at least seen as a more viable candidate.
100% correct, Kenneth. So when human resources management or talent acquisition receives a resume into what Kenneth stated was a ATS or an applicant tracking system, we retain that information, right? Because when other opportunities open, instead of automatically posting that job out to external job boards like Indeed, or posting it out to Monster or Career Builder or things like that, the first thing that a well-functioning TA team will do is look in their internal database, right? And they'll do a search, a keyword search. So if I'm looking for somebody that is an accountant that has a CPA on my team, the first thing they're going to do is go into our internal database, right? And then they're going to pull up individuals, and there's some other filters you can attach to that. And then we'll pull out and say, oh, look, yeah, here's 5 or 6 people that applied for a position in the past that we didn't move forward with. Let's take a look at that information. And then what we do is we'll send out a teaser to that individual, right? A passive inquiry to that individual. Hey, I don't know, you applied to X position a couple of months ago, and we don't know if you're interested, but we have a great opportunity. Spell out what the role is, put the link to the role. If you're interested, please apply. And then they'll apply to that position. And we do the exact same thing with interns. Interns apply in 2021. We may look for, if we have a hard time finding qualified candidates, we may look at interns again for 2022 by looking at interns that applied in 2021. So ensure that your resume is up to date, make sure your resume is professional, and then please make sure that your resume is submitted and it'll go into an applicant tracking system. Good, so I think I covered this a little bit before, but please make sure that when you actually review the job description for the internship, that you're paying attention to what the requirements are. And those requirements can be education, can be GPA, can be minors, it can be certain skills, whether they're hard skills like communication, it can be soft skills like leadership. So make sure you pay attention to that. The other thing is make sure your resume as I said before, is up to date, but make sure that your resume speaks to the role that you're applying for. So we talked about that as well.
You know, we have a question in the Q&A.
Sure.
And I think this is probably a good time to address it. David wants to know if there are 1 or 2 ways that you suggest someone leverage to stand out in the crowd of applicants.
Well, the interesting thing is that can be somewhat difficult to do on your resume, right? But I think what you should pay attention to, if you do some research, so for instance, a good example would be, you're a finance major, you're a junior, and you're very much interested in investment banking. And you say, you know what, I'm thinking about potentially, you know, here's a couple of organizations I think would be able to offer me some good experience from an internship perspective. So you look at it and you go, all right, you know, I'm going to go to Goldman Sachs. I'll pick them. So you actually go onto their career center, you type in internship, and you find a couple of investment banking internships. They have 2 or 3. And they're based upon different sectors of their business, right? So you select one, you go, yeah, I think I like to be in this sector, which is around utilities. That makes a lot of sense to me. I think that's a good match. And then what you'll see is in there, it'll tell you specifically what skills they're looking for in the individual. So they may say, you know, we're looking for individuals that graduated, that are attending either Ivy League schools or good B schools, that have a 3.5 or greater, and we're only interested in juniors or individuals that are going into their senior year. If you don't meet those qualifications, I would tell you, do not submit your resume. Go look for other organizations where your background, skills, and abilities are going to be a better fit for the internship. Hopefully that answered the question.
I believe so.
Okay. Good. Well, it's interesting. It's going to be assessed based upon the role that you're applying for, right? So there's no ambiguity here, right? Your resume is going to be reviewed based upon where you go to school, what is your major, what is your GPA, and I'm sure somebody's going to probably put in the Q&A, do I have to put my GPA on my resume? We'll answer that if somebody wants to put that in there in the Q&A. And then you want to make sure that if you have work experience, that work experience is on your resume. Now, here's the catch-22. You're a college student, you're just finished your sophomore year, you're going into your junior year, and you haven't worked. What should you be thinking about doing that you potentially can put onto your resume today that would give you some work experience? And the word is volunteer. Find yourself a good volunteer role, whether that be at the National Urban League, whether that be at the YMCA, whether it be at the Boys and Girls Club, whether that be at your church, wherever that may be. There's thousands upon thousands of volunteer opportunities for young people that you can find in your community that you can then leverage and put onto your resume. So that will give you some experience, number one. That will then take up some of that white space on the paper. And then when people begin to look at your information, they'll get a better holistic perspective of who you are. So as a human resource leader and a talent acquisition leader, what I always look for when I'm looking specifically at resumes of college students that are looking for internships are a number of things. One is, where did you go to school? 2, what is your major? If you did list your GPA, what is your GPA? And typically for me, it's pretty intuitive, right? If you have a 3.0 or greater, you typically list your GPA. If your GPA is less than 3.0, you typically don't list it. We're creatures of habit, that's what happens. And then I also want to be able to take a look at what you've done from a work experience perspective or from a volunteer experience, and how does that all add up as it relates to the position that you're applying for. So if you're applying for a data analyst role, then I would expect to see somebody that has a major maybe in business, maybe in statistics, maybe in math, or you could be an engineer, right? But it's going to be something that's STEM related, because that particular internship is going to take a certain proficiency and competency as it relates to manipulating and working with data. So that's important, right? And then I'm going to then look at what have you done as it relates to working with data, right? Have you been in a data competition? Schools do that, right? Have you taken, maybe you've decided that you've taken some certificates that you can take in Google, right? You've taken a certificate and you have a certificate in data intelligence, or you've done some volunteer experience, or you're in a fraternity or a sorority and you've used your data analyst skills and competencies to help your fraternity or sorority or your club or your organization. And those are the things that I would be looking for that would make that particular resume and that candidate an A candidate compared to somebody as being a B or a C candidate.
And I think that's great information. You know, it's kind of the way you start, right? So you have someone, school's the requirement, right? You have to go there, and you're there, and your coursework is part of the process. But then when you look at some of the other things, professional development, volunteer opportunities, things that you do within your fraternal and sorority organizations, and then when you start adding those pieces on to the other gentleman's question, I think those are the things that allow you to stand out in the crowd as well, right? The other things you do that you're not required to do, but you took on, you know, just as part of your professional journey. I think that's a really important piece to someone being successful, not only in their internship, but as they continue their career journey moving forward.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, Kenneth. I think, you know, there's times where I read resumes and it will say things like full-time student funded 100% of my education. What does that tell me? It tells me here's an individual who's driven to get his or her degree, and on top of that is working to pay to get their degree. That tells me they're highly conscientious. They probably have good time management skills. Tells me they're able to overcome challenges. Tells me that they're driven to be successful. So even if that person didn't list their GPA, wink, wink, I would probably look at that person and say, here's a person who's funding their own college education, who's taken a full-time credit load and is looking to graduate with, let's say, a business degree. You know what? This is a person I probably want to have my team talk to, right? Just because there's not many young people today that are taking a full 12 or 15 course credits and working full-time and are being successful doing it. That tells me a lot about the person. Just like a person who says that they volunteered for, let's say, you know, let's say an issue or a cause in their community that they felt that they needed to be a part of, whether that be education in their community, whether that would be things around childcare in their community, whether that would be things like sports programs in their community, mentorship programs in their community. That speaks volumes to me. And then in some other cases, you have people that are just leaders, right? Where they say that, you know, we started something in our community, or we started something to improve something that we felt needs to be improved. That's going to make you stand out from the crowd, right? And that's important. Good. Next, what do we have? What's up? Paid. Okay, let me get my notes here. I want to make sure that I don't speak out of turn around paid versus college, because it's interesting that the Department of Labor, which is known as the DOL, does have some guidelines around whether or not an internship should be paid or not paid.
You know, and I know this was a very hot conversation a couple of years ago in regards to just, people getting paid for internship opportunities.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm looking forward to
Looking forward to this. Okay.
take on this. Yes.
Okay, here we go. So internships in the private sector are often viewed as employment by the Department of Labor. I'll say that again. Internships in the private sector, so there's private and public, but in the private sector, they're viewed as employment by the Department of Labor. And interns must be paid at least the minimum wage, and they're eligible for overtime compensation. So for hours, any hours worked over 40 hours a week, they would get overtime. If the internship is not paid, it's the student's university or college that decides if the student is eligible to receive college credit or not for the internship. It's not for the employer. It's your college or university decides that, right? The decision is based solely on school policy, as well as the criteria of the student's major and whether or not the student has already participated in an internship and received college credit. How's that? Now, if you are looking for an internship, I would tell you probably close to 85, if not 90% of internships today are paid. And the reason for that is it's highly competitive. I work for Benjamin Moore. My competitor across the street is Sharp Electronics. My competitor down the street is Samsung. So when we're all vying to bring on students to be interns, to work on projects that are important to the business, and to ensure that we're giving college students experience and knowledge, and they're able to deliver to us work product. And if you remember what I said at the beginning, NACE says that 72% of interns receive a job offer, but also that interns perform better than non-interns. There's the ROI. So if I'm an employer who's wants to compete in a very tight labor market, right, as we have today, it's going to be in my best interest to ensure not only that my internship is paid, but my hourly rate for my internship is competitive. So at Benjamin Moore, internships will range anywhere from $15 an hour to $25 an hour. And the $25 an hour are typically for graduate students or for those individuals that what I consider to have STEM-related skills. So if I'm looking for a business intelligence person that has an SAP background and needs to be a graduate, we usually find them from the University of Dallas. Those individuals typically will come in and we receive $25 to $23 an hour. Compared to somebody, let's say we're looking for somebody to work in public relations, it will be between probably $15 and $17 an hour, because we need to compete. And we want to make sure, just like everybody else as an employer, that we're able to attract the best talent. And we know the best incentive to attracting the best talent, I'm not saying it's number one, I won't say that, but it's definitely either one or two, depending on who's receiving the information. So if it's not the actual type of work that the individual is going to be engaged in, then it's definitely going to be pay.
Hey, Paul, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Have you ever had a student come in for an internship and negotiate their salary rate?
Happens every year.
Are you serious? Okay.
And I'm seeing more of it today than I have probably in the last 5 years. And yet again, listen, I think what's important is to be transparent. So, Kenneth, you know, probably, and I know, right? If a person is considered a talent, right? When you look at their resume, you're like, that's a talent. I'm interested in that individual. And then you have a conversation, or I call it a conversation. Some people will call that an interview. I think when you have a conversation, you've done really well, because now a person is going to disclose their full self to you. But you do the interview, you finish that interview and you go, yeah, that person could be successful at this organization. That individual you may make an offer to. You say it's $18 an hour. They may come back and say, you know what, Mr. Newman, thanks for the offer. I really appreciate it. And I really do like what Benjamin has to offer. However, I have some other opportunities, whether it's true or not true, it's called negotiating, that are looking to pay me $20 an hour. Do you think you could pay me $20 an hour? And I never say no, right? Because I know what my range is, but yet again, I'm negotiating. So I always say to them, let me review that with my compensation team. I have a compensation team like any other organization that looks at comp and comp systems and making sure that we're within budget. I have a quick conversation with my compensation team, and then I get back to that individual as quickly as possible. And in 9 times out of 10, if they're an A candidate, I will meet them either what they want or at least halfway. And I see that more and more today. And I expect to see more and more this year as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. I just was thinking about that. And because people are so junior in their careers, it tends to be people that negotiate salaries, what I've seen, tend to either be extremely well coached or a little more senior in their career. So I was interested in knowing if interns actually do that. Thank you for sharing.
Yep, no problem. Next question. What do we have here? What steps should you take to be prepared for an interview? Interesting. Okay. So, probably 5-7 years ago, right? Most interviews that a college student would be in person. Those days have changed. Right? So with the pandemic and with organizations having remote schedules or flex schedules in place, your interview today, if you're a college student looking for an internship, I would probably tell you would be via video conference. So with that in mind, I think it's important that we cover a couple of what I call basic tips around video interviewing. So first and foremost, make sure you have a quiet, private, well-lit place to conduct your interview. That's number one. Number two, ensure your internet connection is strong. So if you need to get close to the router, get your computer close to the router. Or if you're in a dorm and your Wi-Fi is not so, it's gonna be a little wonky, go to a place where you're gonna have strong internet connection. Check your computer. Make sure the audio is working. I love my headset, which means any other ambient noise around me, nobody hears. So if you have a headset, make sure you use a headset. I would recommend using a headset. Test your computer webcam. Make sure it's working. Make sure that when you're sitting in front of it, it's actually displaying what you want the person on the end to see. Close any unnecessary web browser or tabs or applications. Close them out. ESPN, CNN, whatever it is, close those things out. And then dress professionally and avoid bright colors. So what you want to make sure is that your professional image comes across in the video just the way you would want it to be. Today I knew I was going to be doing this series with Kenneth in the National Urban League. I changed my shirt. I brushed my teeth. I combed my hair. I shaved again. Even though I don't get a short shadow, I wanted to make sure that I looked professional when I was doing this webinar for the National Urban League. You should have the same rigor when you're actually doing your interview. And make sure that you are ready, I would say 15 to 20 minutes before the interview takes place. And the reason for that is that it's going to reduce any anxiety and reduce any nervousness. The other thing I would tell you to do is practice what you're going to say and how you're going to respond to questions. I can tell you 9 times out of 10, somewhere in any interview, the question is going to be, so tell me about yourself, or tell me why you went to the University of Pittsburgh, or tell me why you decided to be an accounting major, or tell me what class you enjoyed the most. These are just some basic questions that an interviewer will ask you. make sure you know how to respond to those questions. And my tip to you would be, is to write out your response. And then review your response. And if you see something there that doesn't make sense or could be communicated with more clarity and with more impact, make that change. So write, rewrite, and write it again. And then, as I like to say, then when you're in front, when you're interviewing and you're talking to that individual, it will be a little scripted, but make sure it sounds natural. So you know the questions comes up and you can get that smile. Oh, I know the question's going to come up. And then you're like, yeah, well, I decided to go to the University of Maryland because it was within commuting distance of my home, and my cousin went there and had a tremendous experience. Plus, I knew they had a great geography department, blah, 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 blah. Scripted, it sounds natural, and you answer the question. And you'll do the exact same thing when it comes to, when the usually an interview comes to an end, the interviewer will say to you, do you have any questions for me? Of course. You should have at least 3 questions, right? Typically what I would say is one question would be about the role or the internship. One question should be about the company, its culture, its leadership. And then one question as it relates to some news or an event that's occurred at the organization. And the question is, well, how do you know that? Well, there's that big word begins with R and ends in R. It's called research or researcher. Research. Research the company that you're interviewing with. You should know, if you're interviewing with Benjamin Moore, you should know who we are, how long we've been around, who our CEO is, who our CFO is, and all that information is public. If you don't know, you can put it in Google and you can find out who those individuals are. You should then be able to do any search and determine what things have happened within the organization that you think is relevant, that you'd like to ask a question about. Have that information that's going to put you in a better light than somebody else that hasn't done the research. The other thing that I find to be interesting from a psychological perspective is that it's going to make you feel more confident because you have that information. Just like you've done your research around the company, just like you've done your research around what questions you want to ask, and you have scripted out what your responses will be to some of the questions, having done all of that preparation is going to make you more confident, and that's going to come across in your interview.
You know, I'm always a person to kind of find a way to hack a particular task or system, right? And I think something you spoke about earlier in your presentation, listen, leverage the Career Center and the individuals that work there. One, they always have quiet spaces for you to conduct your interviews in with great internet, right? Mm-hmm. So you can take care of all of that there, but then you can also receive a mock interview from their representatives. And typically they have information and intel on the organization that you're meeting with, possibly, and you can use that to perform better and be just a little more prepared through your process. Like the Career Center is a great place to support your interview process.
100% correct, Kenneth, 100% correct. And then that's just the last thing around your background. Make sure, the safest approach is to simply have a neutral colored background, right? For the video interview. Plain backgrounds such as a simple wall behind you. You want to stay away from anything that's busy or anything that somebody who's in the organization may deem to be inappropriate, right? So if you've got any of those posters on your wall, things of that nature, you might want to find another place to do it or take those posters down, right? Because what you don't want to do is to have the interviewer be distracted and take away from what you're saying, because the real focus should be on you, not on your background. Good. We talked about this a little bit. So yeah, this is a key takeaway. You clearly want to do research on the companies. And then, interestingly enough, you also want to make sure that you're dressed professionally. So we talked a little bit about dressing professionally, but yet again, no bright colors. As you can see, right? You want to make sure your colors are sort of muted. You can wear white, you can wear blue, and that's for males or females or whatever. But make sure that when you present yourself in front of the interviewer, whether it be through a video conferencing or it's in person, that you look professional. Now, in some cases, you may not understand or have a good sense of what the professional dress is for an organization, right? So the beautiful thing today is that there's social media. So what you can always do is you can go to benjaminmoore.com, you can go to Instagram, you can go to benjaminmoore.com, you can go to Facebook, and you actually will see employees in the workplace, and you can see what they dress like. So in some cases, it'll be like, oh, it can be, business casual. Well, what does that mean? Like, I know, for instance, business casual at Citigroup is different than business casual at HBO, right? So you as a student, how do you figure out what you potentially should be wearing? Go to social media, take a look at the individuals in the workplace, see how they're dressed. And that's males, females, etc. And if you're still unsure, as my mother would say, side with the angels. And that would mean dress professional. So young men, that would mean a shirt, white, blue, business, conservative, nice tie, blazer. Yet again, if it's a video, you can just put that on the top. You can wear shorts underneath. Young women, yet again, nice blouse, professional, a jacket, hair's done well. So if you have long hair and it's here, put it up, make it so you can see your face, etc. Men, hey, if you have a beard or a goatee, make sure that it's groomed and it looks professional. Your image that you convey will be lasting. So it could be good and create a good impression, or it could be bad and create a bad impression. So let's make sure we create a good impression. Good, next. Oh, good.
All right.
What questions do we have?
Excellent presentation. I really appreciate it. I know some of the attendees want to know if there's a different process to securing a remote or hybrid internship relationship. So
there is not a different process. And the reason for that is because the majority of human resource management functions will go through a systematic process to, one, socialize the internship opportunity on job boards and on their career center, to review resumes, to conduct interviews, and then to make a selection, right? And then the last part, which you probably know, but that's the onboarding, right? The onboarding component. The interesting thing is that today, there was an interesting stat I got from from LinkedIn. In 2020, and don't quote me, but I think this is pretty clear. In 2020, 1 in 67 career opportunities was remote. That was in 2019. In 2021, it's 1 in 7. So there's more and more remote opportunities for individuals today than there's ever been, and we know the reasons for that. But you want to make sure that you have the same process, whether it's remote or if it's on site, because that's going to get you to being successful. Following that process will get you to the success, right? So follow the process. That's it.
Another question: how do I make the most out of my internship?
So first and foremost, what I would say is make sure you understand what you're going to be accountable for. So first day that you're there, you want to make sure that you meet with your manager, and you want to make sure that you review the goals for the summer. You want to know very clearly what's expected of you. And if you have any questions, that's the time to ask the questions. The second thing I would do, and this is my experience, is I would ask my manager for a buddy or a mentor while I'm there. That typically is going to be somebody from your work group, somebody that's maybe in and around your age, maybe somebody a little bit older, but somebody that's doing the work that you're going to be asked to do, someone that's in that department that understands the culture of the department, understands the goals, understands how the department works. So that would be the second thing. And then the third thing that I would look to do is I would reach back out to my human resource person that made me the offer. And I would ask them about, is there any learning opportunities that I could undertake while I'm here doing my internship? So lots of organizations will have learning and development departments, or the new term is learning and transformation departments. And those departments continually roll out what I call training or education to the workforce. So you may have the opportunity to sign up for it. It can be virtual or a classroom session or a workshop for things like conflict resolution, right? You could sign up for things like how to network, professional etiquette. There's so many classes and workshops that organizations will have that you may want to make sure that you know where to find them and then to enroll in those classes while you're there.
Wow, amazing information. You know, I have a question here. How would someone go about securing an internship for the next cycle?
Oh, sure. So yeah, interesting. Good question. So as you probably are aware, right? Like lots of internships take place in the summer, right? That's a nice time because students are off from school, whether it's, you know, April, May timeframe, and they work all the way through the summer, and then it ends, you know, late August, early September. However, the next cycle is going to be for the fall, right? So there's a couple of things that you want to pay attention to. One is that organizations do offer internships all year round. Benjamin Moore, we offer internships all year round. However, we have a summer internship program, and then we have fall internships and winter internships. So there isn't what I consider to be these auxiliary workshops that are associated to the program. However, the process for you securing those internships that are not in the summer is exactly the same. One, go to Indeed, go to Monster, go to Career Builder, put an internship. If you know which companies you are interested in, do that targeted search and then follow the process. If there's a company that you really, really would love to have an internship with, reach out to the human resource department. That can be by email, that can be by phone, and communicate to them. Hey, I'm a junior at Pace University. I am a communications major. I'm really looking for an internship in the fall, and I'm able, here's the value proposition, I'm able to work 20 hours a week, right? Because I don't have classes on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Because what you're going to find out, those internships that take place, what I consider to be off cycle, right? The individual is going to have to either come on site and be in the office, or if it's remote, they're going to want you to be working during working hours. So you should clearly stipulate very early on in your conversation that you have time in your schedule to work. And that's the key component.
Gotcha.
Got it?
Gotcha. All right, so we're getting ready to close out here, but I know everybody wants to know, one, how can they stay connected with you and
Sure.
opportunities at Benjamin Moore?
Bingo. Here we go. So that's the first is the Instagram. That's Benjamin Moore. That's my LinkedIn profile. I think I have close to 4,000 connections on LinkedIn, and it keeps growing. So if you want to connect with me, the best way to do is to connect with me on LinkedIn. If I see you, I always accept, unless it's some agencies that are always trying to get a hold of me. Instagram, Twitter is like Benjamin Moore. And then if you're interested, which is good timing, chat on my team, my talent acquisition team today actually posted 4 internships. So the last link that you see there, that is a link to Benjamin Moore's Career Center. And if you go there and it says what, type in internship. And if you do that this evening, you should see 4 internships. A QA tester, that's quality assurance tester, a credit analyst, a data analyst, and a supply chain intern. We hopefully will have about another 16 will be added in the next 3 to 4 days. So if those 4 is not an area of interest to you, please check back I would say, if I was conservative, Monday, check back on Monday, and we should have all 16 to 20 of our internships all approved and all online. And then please, if you are interested in those opportunities, when you begin to fill out the application, it's going to ask you, how did you find out about this opportunity? It's going to be critical not only for you as the prospective intern, but also for the National Urban League, that you check off the National Urban League, because we'll be tracking that. And I want to make sure that we get a good ROI so we can continue to socialize our summer internships and our career opportunities with the great National Urban League.
Wow, amazing. And to everyone that's on the line, our team here at the Digital Career Success Series, they're amazing. So they dropped that link into the chat. So you can literally cut and paste it, just click right there, and it'll take you directly to the information that Mr. Newman is speaking about. Listen, we'd like to thank you for delivering an amazing presentation, Secure the Bag, How to Learn an Internship today. We'd like to thank Benjamin Moore, of course, for providing this platform, and not only providing the platform, but bringing internship opportunities to the stage as well. Thank you so very much, sir.
Thank you very much for having me, and it's been a pleasure, hopefully imparting some valuable information to the next generation.
You definitely did. Look, if you're looking to touch base with me, LinkedIn, again, works extremely well. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, visit the eastcoastexecutive.com website as well. But I think it's going to be really important for you to tap in with Benjamin Moore on their social media feeds, and also through the URL link provided, the bit.ly, because it sounds like somebody's going to get an internship. Make sure you follow through by including that you heard about this opportunity from the National Urban League. All
That's
right.
going to be very important. Very important. Please make sure on that source you put the National Urban League.
We do it again. I believe we do this again. I want to say March 2nd for Digital Career Success Series. Yes, indeed. Developing your professional plan. We got Troy P. Thompson with us. He's going to teach you how to craft your professional development plan and help you advance your career towards the goals that you have set for yourself. March 2nd at 12 p.m. So make sure you check that one out. We're excited about Troy coming through, just like we were excited about the event today. So on behalf of the National Urban League, Wanda Jackson, Dory Brown, and the entire Urban League Jobs Network team, I'd like to thank you for attending today. My name is Kenneth L. Johnson. Hope to see you again March 2nd for our next Digital Career Success Series. Thank you.